the conversation. Tell me what you think about the issues of the world. What kind of spice you wanna be? Tell me where you wanna travel. Do you believe in luxury? What's your hidden passion? What makes you so unique? Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. I am Nicole Everett, the host of Conversations with Nicole, and we are here at Nefertari's Fine Dining here in Tallahassee, Florida. And today my very special guest is Mr. Archie Bouie, the Associate Vice President of Finance and Administration at Florida A&M University. Welcome, Archie.
Thank you for having me.
So you have had a history of leadership, but before we delve into that, I want to know a little bit about who you are. I know you're from Tallahassee,
Yeah.
born and raised.
Yes, born and raised.
Okay.
But I tell everybody when I'm asked this question, I am Addie's grandson and Addie's son, and I'll explain that later.
Okay.
Nicole's husband, and Brandon, Cameron, Daniel, and Hannah's father.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
To explain the two Addies, so my grandmother's name is Addie Lee Cook. My mother's name is Addie Elizabeth Cook.
Okay, Addie and Addie.
Yes, and they were both instrumental in who I am today.
Wonderful,
Yep.
wonderful.
Yep.
So you graduated from high school?
I did. I spent most of my primary and secondary years at FAMU High. But because of not having a baseball team a few years, I transitioned to Gabi, and I graduated from Gabi High.
Alright.
Baseball was my first love, so I transitioned to Gabi and ended up graduating from Gabi. But I spent about 9 years at FAMU High.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then left high school and did what?
Left high school, went to college, played a little baseball, played a little minor league baseball, and this old body let me down, so I guess I had to start working.
All right, and your first stop was where?
Sprint. I started with the Sprint Corporation. I actually spent the first 9 years of my career with Sprint, various positions. As I talked to students, I was unique in the sense I had 5 promotions in 8.5 years. And so my body of work with them was fast and furious, but it was also a learning lesson for me.
Okay, good deal. And after Sprint?
After Sprint, after we bought Nextel, and some changes were made at the company, I left and got into banking.
Okay.
My first stop at banking was SunTrust. I was in the Jacksonville market at the time, and I was a small business banker with SunTrust. And tell you how worlds collide. In 2007, this unknown bank to Florida called Hancock Bank purchased First Guarantee. And they brought me over to be the community and commercial banker for First Guarantee.
Okay.
And so I was with them from 2007 to 2009.
All right.
And that's when the transition happened to education. As
Education.
You know. Education,
Okay.
my passion. So one of the things that I also tell my children as well as my students, if you find your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. And education really is my passion. And so my first institution was Florida Memorial University down in Miami.
Okay, HBCU
HBCU, absolutely, absolutely. And I was with them for about 3 years, and then I transitioned to Miami-Dade College. And a little known fact about them, Miami-Dade College is the largest college in the country.
Wow.
Very few people know that.
That is amazing.
And so
when you say largest in the country, tell me what you mean in terms of numbers.
So when I was at Miami-Dade, they had 8 campuses, 165,000 students. My one campus alone, which I was responsible for, had 22,000 students.
Wow.
The Inter-American campus. And so
that's
if you
pretty
can
big.
imagine, our largest campus was the Kendall campus, which I think used to be called the South
The
Campus.
South Campus, yes.
They had 60,000 students at that one campus.
Wow.
So massive, massive, massive institution, about a $3 billion budget. And you name it, and Miami-Dade has touched every corner of the Miami-Dade County and the Tri-County area down there, as you know. And so it was a great institution, great learning experience for me. Left there in 2014 to become the campus president of Georgia Military College.
Wow.
School I had never heard of.
Georgia Military College, never heard of that either.
I'd never heard of it, but it's a statewide community college in the state of Georgia. And I ran the 2 campuses in Atlanta, one in Fairburn and one in Stone Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. What was that experience like?
It was different. You know, being a small institution, coming from a larger institution like Miami-Dade, there are, of course, resource differences there. But it also allowed me to have a little more hands-on touch with the students. You know, going from 20,000 students at one campus to my 2 campuses only having 1,200 students. It was much easier to touch and make an impact, I feel, on the student lives, which is what I'm passionate about. So,
Good deal, good deal. All right, so you left Georgia.
Left Georgia and came home.
Came home.
Yes,
Wow.
to the Florida A&M University.
The Florida
That's right.
Agricultural and Mechanical University.
Absolutely.
Very good. All right.
And in my role now, you name it,
And you do it,
I
huh?
do it.
Okay.
Whatever Dr. Robinson and Dr. Ford needs, I take care of it. So
Finance and administration.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So your leadership experiences are vast, as you have just expressed.
Yeah.
Which maybe had something to do with you producing this book.
A little something. My first, or as I said earlier, my 5th child.
Your 5th child.
My 5th child.
Invisible Leadership.
The Intangibles Matter.
The Intangibles Matter.
One of the things that led me to write this book. There's so many thoughts and theories about leadership out there. You name it. You have Maslow hierarchy of needs. Ken Blanchard, Jack Welch. You name it, it's out there. But one of the things I found is that when you look at leadership books, there's these vast books, 300, 400 pages. But what information are you giving me that I can take and make it applicable in my day-to-day life?
Right.
And so that was the aim behind this book. I wanted fast and furious, give you good information that you can apply to your life, and not just professionally, but personally.
Okay.
So that was the aim behind this book, give you tools to be successful in every area of your life of leadership, because one of the things most people don't realize, you're a leader the day you're born. You are a leader from the time you get here. It's not a position, it's not an organization you work with, but you have to lead yourself. And you can't lead anybody else until you lead yourself. And so that's one of the main aims I hope people take away from my book.
So that was actually going to be one of my questions. Are leaders born, are they bred, or both?
I think they're both.
I
think you're born a leader and you hone in on your skills so you can be bred, so to speak. But you are born being a leader. You have to be able to lead yourself and lead your life in order to be successful in any arena.
That's
Whether
right.
you're the head of a Fortune 500 company or the head of your household. You have to have what I feel, these 4 principles that I've included in the book, you have to have them in order to be successful.
Okay. So who is this book for?
This book is for everybody. But mainly I wanted to take that middle of the road leader, or that young leader that's fresh out of college, going into a leadership role and doesn't understand all of the theories and all those things that are thrown at you in college, or whether you've read different books. I wanted that leader to be able to take basically a roadmap and say, if I do these 4 things, I'll be successful at leadership.
Okay, very good. Now, I'm going to ask you to give me a sneak peek in and tell me what these 4 things are that you are this invisible leadership. We got to know.
Okay, all right, not a problem. So the first intangible is courage. You have to have courage to be a successful leader. One of the things that I've found throughout my walk in leadership is most leaders are fearful. They're fearful of losing something, whether it's losing their status, losing their position, losing their ranking, so to speak. So you have to have courage, because if fear guides you, you're more prone to make mistakes. And so courage is the first thing that I point out as a tangible that you have to have.
Okay.
The next one is persistence.
Persistence.
You have to be able to persist,
Okay.
because there are going to be times that you hit bumps in the road. No one is successful 100% of the time.
Right.
So how do you persist past that point? If you fail, do you stop? Do you collapse and just quit? Or do you pick yourself up and continue moving forward?
So overcoming barriers.
Absolutely. So after courage and persistence, you have to have an internal cartogram, which essentially is a map.
Okay.
What is your vision or roadmap for yourself? Because if you don't understand that, you can't necessarily have a vision for someone else or a team that you're leading. So what is your internal cartogram that's guiding you? You have to have that, and you have to understand what it is and how it impacts the people you're able to touch.
Okay.
And so that's all I'm going to give you. I'm going to make the last one. You got about a book.
All right.
Got about a book.
That's fair enough. I appreciate that. But we're going to take a break right here. But when we come back, I want to hear more about Archie Bouie. Okay. All right. Stay tuned for more conversations. Welcome back to Conversations with Nicole. If you're just joining us, my special guest is Mr. Archie Bouie, the Associate Vice President of Finance and Administration at Florida A&M University. So before the break, we were talking about the book,
Yes.
Invisible Leadership,
Yes.
and you gave us 3 of the 4
Yes.
intangibles. So
Yes.
if you all want the last intangible, you'll have to get the book, and we'll talk about how folks can have access to the book a little later.
Okay.
But I want to talk a little bit more about you. So again, leadership has been your thing. Who have been some leaders you've admired, and why?
That's a heavy question. Of course, my mother. I think the courage that she displayed raising me alone, I think she did a decent job.
She did all right.
But I would have to say my grandmother. My grandmother, who was born in 1913, only finished the 3rd grade, and she raised 6 pretty successful children, also raised 3 of her grandchildren, and she did an outstanding job making the most with the least.
Wow.
I owe everything to her, everything that I am, and hence the name of my company, the Patrick Cook Group. That's an homage to her.
Okay.
Her maiden name is Addie Lee Patrick, and her married name is Cook. So Patrick Cook.
Got it. All right. Well, tell us a little bit more about Patrick Cook.
We're a performance management company. You name it. It's a group of talented people with about 75 years combined skills in different aspects, whether it's legal, accounting, finance, fundraising, education, banking. We came together to form this group to be able to serve what we felt was a niche area. That small business leader who's trying to push his company to the next level, his or her company to the next level, or that major corporation who seems to be stuck in a rut. We work with them all. We've been pretty successful at doing it.
Well, good deal. Now, what advice would you give a young leader in the making?
Stay at it.
Stay at it.
Failure will happen.
So is that persistence you were talking about?
Absolutely. Okay. Fail, but fail forward. You will meet roadblocks. You won't get it right all the time. You will make mistakes, but learn from those mistakes and move forward. And also be man or woman enough to own up to those mistakes. One of the things I see so many leaders do is put on the front of being perfect.
Yes.
They don't make mistakes. Although their team members make mistakes, they never make mistakes. And they don't realize what's that doing to the morale of the team. So being able to be transparent and own up to who you are, you're a failure just like everyone else, but failing forward is the thing that makes you successful. So.
Are there any telltale signs of a good leader?
Yes, I think one that's open to communicating, whether it's good or bad, about being transparent about anything. One of the things I tell my team is I'm an open book. You never have to guess with me, good or bad. My wife gets on me about that, but you never guess with me. What you see is what you get. And it's an old adage, but I believe it to be true to this day. Treat people how you want to be treated. You'll be pretty successful. It doesn't take much to be successful. I think if you, in any walk of life, if you treat people the way in which you expect to be treated, you'll be successful at whatever you're attempting to accomplish. So.
Okay. Yeah. Now, as a black male in the corporate setting, in corporate America,
yes.
What challenges have you faced as it relates to that? Have you felt the effects of that?
Yes, I have been the first 3 times in my career. So yes, I've definitely felt the effects. And I think one of the things that has worked well for me is being true to who I am. I won't, you see some people who shift depending upon the environment they're in. I'm the same Archie, whether I'm in front of Jack Welch or I'm in front of my cousin. I'm the same Archie. And that's one of the things that's bode well for me. I grew up right around the corner here on Pasco Street.
In Vaughn community.
Absolutely. And if you know, in the 70s and 80s, we had some impacts from the drug issues that we had at those times. But one of the things that I felt great about is I could talk to the guys on the corner, or I could talk to the governor in the governor's mansion. And so I really take pride in that. And I think you're respected more when you're transparent and original and true to who you are.
Okay, that looks like that served you well. Now, you left Tallahassee in 2009.
Correct.
I know it's changed a lot since you left.
Yes,
what are some of the biggest changes you've seen?
One of the biggest changes is right around the corner here. Gain Street was old warehouses and old nightclubs that we probably all used to frequent, and it's gone. And it's wonderful restaurants and housing units, and it's just amazing what has happened on Gain Street. But as well as, I mean, the Tallahassee Mall is really not a mall anymore. It's basically a movie theater and the Pavilion. You see what the city's doing with Lake Bradford and the things that are going on. I talk about FSU Golf Course. There's a lot of things that are changing since I've last been here.
And even FAMU.
Even FAMU, and I was about to say even FAMU in my old neighborhood has changed so much for the better, and changes to come. So Tallahassee is one of those places. It's always been a government hub, of course, and an educational hub, but there's never really been that draw. But I think the city of Tallahassee is really accomplishing that, and moving forward in the future, I think they'll do a good job of keeping people here.
Okay, so speaking of keeping people here, I know you left and again have come back due to employment. Do you think that you'll stay for a while?
I do. Okay. One of the things, when I embarked on education, it was for FAMU. I love FAMU, always have. I mean, it's done so much for my life, my wife, my family. I have the privilege of now, my office is in the Foothill building. Well, all of my mother and her siblings were born there.
The old FAMU hospital.
Yep, my grandfather passed away there. So it's kind of special to me when I walk in that building every day. I never met my grandfather, but I feel his presence when I go in that hospital, which is now our administration center. So I just love FAMU and everything it does, and what I can hopefully bring to the institution is what I'm most excited about.
All right. So what's the best advice that you either given or received?
The best advice I've received, oh gosh, well, twofold. I owe everything professionally to my first leader, Bruce Beard, at the Sprint Corporation. He sat me to the side one day and he said, "Archie, you're talented, you're a hard worker, but you got to finish your degree." I hadn't finished my degree at the time. I had no intent on finishing my degree. I was making a good living and doing my thing.
Climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah, I had gotten 2 promotions at this point. Get a degree for what?
Right.
But it was true. He said, you will run into a glass ceiling, and that will always be a barrier for you to achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve. So finishing my degree was one good piece of advice. And I would have to go to my mother, who told me one day, she said, you're just like your grandfather, good and bad.
Okay.
And she explained in detail what that meant. And so I've held on to that, and that's helped me traverse through my life professionally and personally.
So loving all of you, the
yes.
good and the bad.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Very
yes.
good. Now we are here at Nefertari's, so we got to talk about food.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
So what is your favorite either type of food or dish?
Oh, food.
You said food. Is that like all food?
All food. But if I had to pick one, it would be seafood.
Seafood.
I am a seafood fanatic. My wife says I was born in the water. I wasn't, but I love seafood. I haven't met a seafood dish that I don't like.
I love seafood as well.
I love
now,
seafood.
When you were in Miami, did you get a chance to taste some conch?
Of course.
Okay.
Of
all right.
course.
I'm just checking,
So that was my first exposure to conch. I had no idea what it was.
Okay.
And I tasted it, and I haven't stopped tasting it since.
All right. Well, good deal. Good deal.
Haven't found any like Miami. But,
no, there's not, unless you go to the island.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Bahamas.
Bahamas
yeah.
especially.
Yeah.
So if you could describe your life as a flavor or a spice, what would it be?
Ooh. I have to think on that one. A flavor or spice. I would say turmeric.
Turmeric?
Yes.
Okay. Why turmeric?
Because it's a little bitter to taste, but it's good for you. And so my life has had some bitter moments. It's been pretty hard to swallow, but it was all good for me. It's made me who I am today. Not having a father made me a good father. Not seeing a successful marriage, I feel, made me a good husband. It's just creating that drive. And so, yeah, I would say turmeric.
Okay.
Turmeric.
The good and the bad. Huh?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So we are going to take a break right here. But when we come back, I want you to tell me where I can get a copy of this book.
All right.
Thank
Will
you.
do.
Stay tuned for our clean and healthy eating segment. segment with Oneil Brown, also known as the
Fitness preacher.
All right, fitness preacher. So what's on our menu for today?
We have a healthy green juice that is going to energize your body.
Okay, good. Let's see. What are we doing with this? All of these goodies that we have.
These goodies, we got our vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C. That's going to help us.
All right.
It's going to hydrate the body. It's going to glow our skin. It's also going to help detox.
That sounds like a wonder juice.
Oh yes.
All right. So what do we do?
So what we're going to do, we're going to first turn on our juicer.
Okay.
And you hear that, right?
Yes, I do.
Very powerful. So we use at least 2 handfuls of spinach.
Okay.
And we put it in. Get all the spinach in. There you go. You mind assisting me as
No,
you go?
not at all. Not
Come on.
at all.
So next we're gonna go with our parsley. Okay. Get a nice handful of parsley. Here we go.
Okay.
Got it. I want to make sure. Then we got kale.
Kale.
About 2 leaves of kale. There we go. Nice. Excellent. Cucumber. 1 cucumber. Voila. Cucumber hydrates the body.
Okay.
Then let's throw some ginger in there. About 2 inches of ginger. Now the ginger is good for inflammation. Oh yeah. And our apples. It does not matter what apples you want to use. You could use red or green. So since we're in the green family, we're just sticking with the green apple today.
Wow.
And then the apple will just take that, give you that sweet flavor to it.
Okay. That is a high-power machine.
Oh yes.
All right.
And 3, 2, 1.
All right. So what you said, inflammation was one of the ingredients that ginger was good for that.
Yes.
Any other properties that we should be aware of?
Then also the stomach area.
Okay.
Yeah, the stomach area, the gut. It will help detox the gut, free up the bowel movement, better bowel movements.
Okay.
Glow your skin, make your skin real glow. So we want to have that glow skin.
Okay.
So this is a good energy drink.
So we're done.
We're definitely done.
Okay. All right. So
So-
we get the taster now.
We'll shake it up
Okay.
and I'll pour yours out.
And what are we calling this again?
The green. I call it a green machine because the
Green
way
machine.
green machine.
Okay.
And because this is so good. Look at that.
All right.
Cheers. To
Cheers.
good health.
Okay. To good health. Pretty good.
Very refreshing, right? And you don't taste the vegetables in there
Not at
because
all.
of the apples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many apples was that?
2.
2. Okay. Yummy.
2 apples.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Fitness Preacher.
You're more than welcome.
Stay tuned for more conversation. Welcome back to Conversations with Nicole. As you can see, our dessert is here. So that is all the conversations we have time for today. But before we go, Archie, I want to ask you, how can folks get a hold of this great book?
So there's 2 ways. They can get it on my website, which is archielbouie2nd.com,
Okay.
or Amazon.
Okay.
And it's available in paperback or Kindle version.
Good deal. All right. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, let's partake of this cheesecake.
Absolutely.
All right. And thank you all for joining us on Conversations with Nicole, where we're connecting the community through conversation.
Have a conversation with Nicole.